All right, today we are going to be overreacting to the top 10 teams in the league. Currently, there have been about 9 games played, you can see here. So we're going to go over the list of people of the teams. Are they meeting expectations? Are they below expectations? I mean, we're talking about the top 10, so they're definitely, most of them are either meeting or exceeding the expectations. Most of them are not underwhelming in most cases, but we're going to go over this list now. So let me know what your thoughts are of my overreactions, because some of these I didn't bet on these happening, because if you go back to my rankings on where I thought some of these teams were going to land, this is not the case. I'll be honest. So let's go over the Vegas Knights. I'm clearly a phenomenal team. I mean, they kept the team together, right? They kept the whole lineup besides Riley Smith, who they traded for a third-round pick to the Pittsburgh Penguins. So, I mean, that's an amazing. They just had their first loss too, their first overtime loss, right? So they're still on a point streak, right? Similar to Boston here too. But we knew Vegas was going to be a cup contender, not a play. There's a difference. Now, there's a difference between a playoff team, right? A playoff contender and a cup contender, right? Looking at Vegas, definitely a cup contender. So I'm glad to see that they're doing very well in the point percentage, clearly, right? And a 15 goal differential. That's one of the big ones too, because you definitely need to be scoring more than you're letting in. I know Dallas had a couple of years ago, they're only team that came in with a negative goal differential into the playoffs, which is crazy. Ottender, man. Moving on to the Boston Bruins. Boston Bruins, of course, definitely had a step back, right? You know, they lost their Bergeron, they lost Krejci, so their center depth was just gone. So you're thinking, oh, they got Zacha as their top line center. What are you guys doing? Why aren't you trying to find someone, right? And honestly, Boston's been so good for so long. You're like, oh man, they gotta fall off sometime. They gotta fall off. I was thinking that. To me, I had them fourth in the division, not almost missing the playoffs, because I was like, I mean, you have Ottawa, you have Buffalo, who are getting better. Buffalo, and we'll talk about. Mind you, we're going to do a video on the bottom 10 teams as well that I'll release later today as well, because it's just crazy. Buffalo is not in the position I thought it would be, but Boston's still unexpected, because I had them fourth, like just barely making the playoffs, kind of maybe beating out Buffalo and Ottawa just a little bit, but I definitely didn't see this coming either. So, but they're doing phenomenal. I mean, they have a phenomenal, but you can. I mean, I was low on them, right? But you have a goalie tandem of Allmark and Swayman. It's just a great duo. I mean, you can't fault them at all. So, Colorado Avalanche, you still last year they had Landeskog out. This year they're still gonna have Landeskog out, and he might be coming back for the playoffs. But right now, like, they're still a pretty good team. They kept a lot of the parts together. They ended up trading for Ryan Johansson, right? They have retained from Nashville, so there's a great pickup there. So they found some center depth who has scored 40 goals since Kadri has left since when they're after their Stanley Cup, and then you have Makar. He was injured a little bit earlier in the season, but he seems to be bouncing back fine. They extended Taves. I mean, you still have McKinnon, right? So there's still a lot of great pieces here. So, of course, Colorado still in that Stanley Cup contention, right? So it's not a surprise at all here. New York Rangers getting bounced in the first round of the New Jersey Devils. I was low on the Rangers. I had Carolina as the first in their conference, I had New Jersey. To me, I just thought they were a little bit better. But the Rangers, to me, were third. But you do have goalie like Shesterkin. I mean, who can you fault with Shesterkin? But to me, the New York Rangers didn't make the big enough moves. You know, they lost Kane, they lost Tarasenko. But again, they still have a lot of great pieces here. To me, they're just a little older, and I'm very impressed with them. So they're definitely exceeding my expectations. Back to the Rangers are still in this fight, which is exciting. So when New York has good hockey, it's good for the league, because it's such a big city, right? And especially the Rangers. The Islanders are a small New York team in comparison. It's like you have Rangers and you have Islanders. It's the same way you have the LA Lakers and the LA Clippers, right? You know, they're big brother and little brother. So, and when hockey's good, when big brother New York Rangers are winning. So no shade to Islanders. Like I said, I like Islanders fans. So, I mean, you guys got Sorokin. I mean, come on. So, another unexpected one. I had them missing the playoffs. The Canucks. To me, Canucks is not that they're not talented. They have a ton of great talent. They traded for Philip Hronek from the Detroit Red Wings. I'm a Red Wings fan. And they had a lot of good pieces. So to me, it was just hard to get them all together. And Rick Tocchet has done a great job of doing that. I mean, Quinn Hughes is playing phenomenal. And that pair with Hronek is doing very well. Picked some good depth pieces like Pio Suter. Pedersen's on a heater, of course, as well. Miller's playing well. Rick Talk is doing a phenomenal job keeping this team together. And they're finally getting good goaltending as well, right? You have Demko, who's finally back on it. He's healthier. And so you're getting this good goaltending. They did lose a goalie on waiver, Spencer Martin, to the Columbus Blue Jackets. So they're if that does happen, that could be an issue. But they do have Casey DeSmith now, who they traded from the Montreal Canadiens, so they have a good tandem now, right? Demko is not having to take on the whole load of playing 60 plus games. You have a guy that you can 1A 1B it, and maybe he'd play a good chunk of games. So I'm impressed with Vancouver. They're playing very well in this case. So Toronto Maple Leafs. What's there to say about Toronto Maple Leafs? And they're going to be good either way, right? We know they have the good parts. We know they're a great regular season team. The only difference is that you want to see that in the playoffs. So with the Toronto Maple Leafs, you just want to continue to see that fill in some of the holes. Now we're getting to that point where Toronto is the only issue they have right now. The two issues they have. Their starter Samsonov has had a down couple games, I'd say, but their backup Joseph Woll, rookie, I think he's played like 16 games in the NHL total. He's looking really well, looking like he may take over that starter position, but they definitely need to have a good goalie tandem. So you really want to see Samsonov bounce back. I think he's like one of the lowest five game goal saved above expected percentage, lowest goals against average save percentage, lowest save percentage average of any Leafs goalie. One of them, I think it was like bottom 5 or something like that in the first 7 games or whatever it was. But anyways, that's one thing, and we definitely know that Toronto's gonna be looking for a defensive upgrade there. And we know they signed Klingberg. They have some good defense here, but of course, Klingberg is not your defensive stalwart. He's gonna be a phenomenal goal scorer. We'd like to see a little more point production out of him, I think. But overall, Leafs doing great. Willie Nylander's on a great heater. Austin Matthews had 2 hat tricks in the 2 games. It was a great start. There was a point where Austin Matthews had to score a hat trick, or they weren't going to win the game. And so here we go. So this is great. It's a great team. Montreal Canadiens. I am blown away. To me, it's kind of like the Vancouver Canucks, right? Vancouver Canucks have a great ton of good pieces, but they couldn't put together. Montreal's a great bunch of pieces, but they weren't fully developed yet, right? You have Nick Suzuki, he's there. Cole Caulfield is looking like a stud. But there's just some pieces that Slavkovsky is kind of getting there, right? But this is a rebuilding team. Why is Montreal doing so well? How did they get 5 wins already? How are they beating teams like Carolina? How are they beating teams like... There's just what's happening here. So I'm excited for the Canadiens. I think it's again similar to New York. When the Canadiens are doing well, it's good for the league. It brings a lot of fire. Montreal Canadiens fans are fired up all the time, which is exciting. This is a great development point for them. The one thing I do want to point out is that they're the one in tops. They're 7th in the league with a -1 goal differential. And it's not because Allen's not playing well or Montembeault. I think they're actually running 3 goalies right now. I think they're running Primo as well because they know they have to waive a goalie to be able to send the one down, and they don't want to get claimed. So because another team in here might be claiming it, a nice young stud goalie, or you don't want to lose Allen. He's your veteran. You definitely want to keep him. Montembeault might be your goalie for the future potentially, right? Or Primo could take that position as well, and you don't want to lose any of those guys at this point, especially going through rebuild where you need sturdy. You don't want to get blown out every day, and that's why you have the goalies that you have here. So I'm moving on to the Red Wings. I was also low on the Red Wings. I'm a Red Wings fan, and I'm still low. To me, they added a bunch of pieces that didn't make sense to me. It felt like a bunch of mid-tier guys. I didn't know if Raymond was going to be developed enough. I didn't have enough faith in... I had faith. I wanted Joe Veleno to work out, right? They signed him to that $850,000 contract for 1 year so he can bounce back. They lost Hronik. There's a couple of good pieces that I really liked. I liked they got Shane Gostisbehere, and I liked they got DeBrincat, but everyone else kind of just felt like fillers to me. And I'm very impressed with them. I'm really impressed. I think Klim Kostin's doing really well. They had 10 free agent signings or something like that, and then if you include Klim Kostin in the trade where Ken Holland sent Klim Kostin and Yamamoto over, and then Red Wings just bought out Yamamoto. but I was not high on the Red Wings. And again, I'm a fan. I'm going to the games. I've gone to 2 or 3 games at this point already this season. We're only 9 games in at this point. But I wasn't high on them. And I'm excited to see what they're doing. They are currently on a 3-game losing streak though. So hopefully, they had a good lead. They lost the first game of the season, then had a 5-game winning streak. So hopefully they can continue to produce. Again, I had them 7th in the division. I definitely thought Ottawa was going to be better and Buffalo's going to be better. I think Buffalo will still get it together. But this is some of the Red Wings had a hot start. It helps you stay in the standings longer. Buffalo has had a bad start, and they need it. And so I think that Buffalo really needs to bounce back. Devin Levi needs to kind of get his feet under him. Especially being a rookie goalie in the sense too, right? So with the Red Wings, I'm not confident in it, but I mean, I could see it happening here. So we'll see if they can continue to progress. But again, I'm not completely sold on it yet. So we'll see. Los Angeles Kings, they're just kind of, I mean, they're definitely the one game missing is definitely could shoot them up, right? If they played 9 games, had one more, get 2 more points, that would shoot them up right to the 5th spot in the league. But like I said, this is why we're overreacting to the top 10, right? Los Angeles, I mean, they had a phenomenal trade with picking up PLD, Pierre-Luc Dubois. They have a great center depth, right, with Deneau, Kopitar, Pierre-Luc Dubois. Quentin Byfield seems like he's putting it together this season as well. So these are all good pieces that are happening. The one thing that I'm curious on, and if they can continue to keep it up with, is the goaltending. They have Dave Riddick, Cam Talbot, and I can't even remember. It's Phoenix Copley. So they have these 3 goalies who are like Riddick and Copley were fringe NHL goalies, potentially back up. Like they were doing fine. Like they were signing places, but they were getting contracts. But they weren't like getting paid or anything. Like even James Reimer got $1.5 million, and he had the worst season of his career last year. But people like Phoenix Copley are signing under $1 million. Riddick's getting signed on for under $1 million. Talbot as well just hasn't had a good couple seasons ever since leaving Minnesota. Left Minnesota. Didn't do great with the Oilers. Didn't do great with the Senators either. And so I'm curious if they're going to end up fixing that goalie setup. I thought that was going to be Hellebuck was going to be going to LA, but he signed 8 years in Winnipeg, so that's definitely not the goal. So LA, I mean, they're doing good, and they have a lot of great pieces, a great defense core as well. I mean, you have Doughty still there, so I mean, there's no issue here. So, and then moving on to the 10th team, I wanted to keep it a little secret. Tampa Bay Lightning. So this is, to me, on par, similar like what you're saying with the LA Kings. If they had one more game, they could be in the fifth spot. But to me, Tampa, especially with the tension of Steven Stamkos, this isn't their go all in time, right? It seems like Tampa Bay recognizes that, hey, the regular season is not as important as the playoffs. So they're going to be shooting for that 2nd or 3rd spot in the division. You don't want to be the 4th in that wild card spot where you're kind of teetering and everything, but you want to get secure enough. You don't need to go full blast. We saw that with Boston, who went full blast, setting the record for the most points of any NHL team. And so I just don't see, and then of course losing the first round to Florida, who played phenomenally, right? But Boston, with the way they loaded up with all their guys and sending out first round picks, picking up Bertuzzi, picking off Orlov as well, Hathaway, they should have won, right? And Tampa Bay recognizes that's not the formula, right? You play hard-ish in the regular season, but you don't need to go balls to the wall. And Tampa Bay just here saying, hey, we're here, we're going to hang out, and we're going to get some points. They're not even replacing Vasilevsky, who's been out for 2 months. And look, they're 10th in the league right now. They're 10th without Vasilevsky, and I'm saying they're not trying right now. So this is definitely, and I mean, they're going to be fine. I mean, we know Tampa has so many good pieces: Sergachev, Hedman, Kucherov, Stamkos. I mean, Braden Point, Brandon Hagel. I mean, the list goes on, right? And they're winning with Johansson right now, and a couple of guys that are just no-namers, relatively no-namers in the league right now. But it's exciting. It's a good bit of teams. Again, a couple of unexpected people, right? Again, for me at least, Vancouver, Detroit, and Montreal. But the rest of these guys seem like they're pretty on point. So I'm excited to go over the bottom 10, though. So let me know what your thoughts are on my review of the top overreaction of the top 10. If you have any comments, please hit like, subscribe. It goes a long way for small YouTube creators. And we are on the road to 1,000 by December 31st. I want to get to the 1,000 subscriber point so we can start really pumping out a ton more content. So anyways, let me know what your thoughts are. Hit like, subscribe. Love you. Catch you soon.